Natural Dogman versus Supernatural Dogman? Or warring Dogman clans near Detroit? Dear Scary Stories NYC, I've got a story for you that happened to me and my late friend in real life. It was in Detroit, or technically a block or two north of the city's northern border. This was back 10 or 11 years ago. I don't live in the area anymore, and maybe this is part of the reason I moved east. I know it's not fair to Detroit, which is a place I love, but I felt really paranoid and unsafe over there after this thing that happened. It had to do with these dog packs, but the truth is, and I will not admit this to you if you ask me to my face, but the real truth is that those dog packs were led by these creatures that walked on their hind legs. I mean, I guess they must have been dogs too, like the rest of them, but they seem like super dogs or something. I mean, in one sense, they seem like future dogs, but in another sense, they seem like prehistoric cave dogs. I'm going to start at the beginning and tell it to you in order, and if anything is confusing, let me know, and I'll fill in whatever I might have accidentally left out. Back around 2011, my friend we can call Jay and I were working summer jobs at this country club just barely north of Detroit, Michigan. When we got paid, we'd visit a local medicine man to obtain magical herbs. Then we'd stop at the little gas station junk food market on 8 Mile Road for something edible to bring with us. After that, we'd cross the street and head into those woods next to the parking lot over there. It starts off as just a few trees, but it widens out, and it was usually a good place for us to relax and have some privacy back in the day when we both still lived with our respective mothers. Some of the most fun times I ever had were with my buddy Jay, and that patch of woods was one of our favorite places to be. Not after that night, though. That night was the last time we would walk into the woods for any reason besides absolute necessity. It's better for people to stay on the concrete and leave the woods to those other kinds of predators who rule inside there at night. So on that evening, we were both in silly moods and were joking around with each other a lot. We started to hear what sounded like dogs yapping, and because of our collective state of mind, we thought that was humorous. Walking over toward where the barking and snarling was coming from, we were sobered up mighty quickly and had the smirks wiped off our faces when we peered through some trees and bushes into a clearing where there were more dogs gathered than should have been able to fit in that space. They were facing off against each other in an almost human-like battlefield. There was no fighting going on yet, but there was a lot of posturing, and there were attempts to provoke the other side. I saw large dogs, smaller dogs, wild-looking dogs, and dogs that were still wearing collars with dog tags on them. But up in front of each pack, standing tall in front of the others as the apparent leader, were dogs that stood on their hind legs, the way bears sometimes do. Maybe I shouldn't compare them to bears actually, as bears usually look kinda stiff and uncomfortable up on their hind legs. These two looked athletic in their bipedal stances. Reared up like that, they looked as tall as ponies, and maybe they were. I know they were taller than I was, and I was probably already 6 feet by then. One of the two leaders looked like an upright black wolf. Its fur was so dark that it was almost the absence of color. The other one looked like a German shepherd that had evolved into a man. Neither was just a canine standing upright. They seemed to have wide chests, like a human. And their front legs were a lot more similar to arms, really, as well. I wouldn't say that they had hands, but it's hard to call what they had paws, either. It really did seem as though these were creatures that had been evolving for millennia into whatever it was that they had become. Even though I grew up in Michigan, I did not for some reason make the connection to the Dogman legends on the night of the sighting. I had heard of the Dogman, but It was when I was a kid, and even when I was young, I figured that wasn't a real monster. It's confused in my memory now about when I came to accept that these were two dogmen fighting. I don't remember if Jay suggested that, or if it was another friend we told the story to, but when we were seeing this in real time, I know I was not thinking about Dogman. I was freaked out enough seeing that many angry dogs in one location, and I was already wondering how the heck we were going to retreat from there without drawing attention to ourselves in the process. I have to say that the black-furred dogman had glowing eyes, but the German Shepherd dogman did not, at least not from our perspective. For this reason, I'm going to call the darker one supernatural, or a werewolf, and I'm going to call the upright German Shepherd the natural dogman. I don't really know if werewolves are a thing, nor do I know what the word supernatural actually even means, but I'm going to use those words anyway. They kind of describe the vibe that was given off, and it helps me describe the attitudes and behavior of these creatures as well. The natural dogman was the first to jump across the invisible line and lunge for the throat of the other, and the natural one seemed to be setting the pace and the tone of the battle. The supernatural one seemed to be able to avoid nearly every attack, but he was not able to avoid all of them. As the dogs tore into a completely chaotic canine mosh pit all around them, the darker one continually pulled back, seemingly observing his opponent and simultaneously allowing him to tire himself out in the process. I never personally witnessed this level of completely berserk canine behavior before, but there were dogs doing things to each other that I didn't know a dog could even do. Bedlam in each and every direction. The fur was flying, to say the least. I kept wondering how long the werewolf was going to do his rope-a-dope act before taking the offensive, and when the German Shepherd dogman started breathing a lot more heavily, I think I got my answer. Seeing weakness in his opponent, the large, dark, upright canine went into one of the most insane assaults that any one living creature had ever unleashed against another. To say that the tides had turned would not even begin to describe what we were seeing. The dogman collapsed to the dirt in exhaustion, and the large black-furred werewolf picked the other beast up, lifting him over his head. All fighting ceased as every canine wanted to see what was going to happen next. It looked to me like the large black werewolf was going to throw the leader of the other clan into the ground. I was as interested as those dogs about what was going to happen, but the thing is, I wasn't joking when I said before that the fur was flying. It was everywhere in the air, floating this way and that in the breeze. I guess Jay was allergic to pet dander or something, because in that crucial moment, when the entire scene had quieted down to that expectant silence just before something big is gonna happen, Jay sneezed loudly, and it was like every dog all at once turned and looked directly at the bush that we were poking our heads through to watch this dogman war. The werewolf did not throw the dogman as I had expected. In fact, he sort of gently placed him down, and then both dogmen stared at us, hiding behind the bush. I had just seen these dogs do things to each other that would get your channel taken down if I were to describe them. Now I was imagining what they could do to me and Jay if they decided to focus their destructive energies on us. And in the instant I thought that thought, each and every canine, both quadrupedal and bipedal, almost simultaneously, started walking in our direction. We left them our munchies and ran back to 8 Mile Road, or so we thought. We had gotten turned around, though, so I remember us running out of the woods and up some guy's driveway. I kind of felt like we were back in civilization, but I don't think the dogs agreed, because they ran up the driveway with us, and out onto the road in front of the house. I think we had run west instead of south, and so now we were running through a suburban neighborhood, being chased by the large glowing-eyed black-furred werewolf and a whole bunch of canines racing in a pack. There were what looked like coyotes. There were what looked like wolves. And they were all manner and size of former house pets. All of them looked insane. And all of them looked pretty hungry. Have you ever been chased by a dogman? It's not something you're gonna forget, at least if you live through it. But imagine being chased by a dogman and a whole bunch of barking, snapping, yowling, crazy canines of every size. Man, I know I felt like a rabbit that was about to get caught. That's what I felt like. And it was not a happy feeling, believe me. Somehow, probably just by luck, we made it to 8 Mile Road and ran down the block toward the gas station. About halfway down that block, we realized we looked like we had just robbed a bank because there weren't any dogs at all, large or small, chasing us any longer. We slowed down and, believe it or not, we started laughing and high-fiving each other. It was so amazing just to be alive right then, you know? Because I can't speak for Jay, but I know I thought we were goners. Living through it made things seem hysterically funny. Since then, I've learned about what they call nervous laughter. We were probably half in shock, and that's probably what made us laugh so much. I mean, almost getting torn apart by a dogman and a pack of his assistants isn't very funny, but we sure did laugh uncontrollably about it for a while. We went to the gas station and told someone there about what we had just seen, but they told us we needed to stop smoking that stuff. I mean, they believed us that we had seen 2 fighting dog packs, as back around then there were a lot of dog packs roaming around, but it was the upright walking werewolf-type leaders with hand-like paws that people had a hard time accepting as possible. As soon as I realized no one was ever going to believe us, I kind of fell into a funk about the whole thing. Not Jay, though. He was like, "Man, I think we should be proud of ourselves." Proud? Why? Well, when we came upon those 2 dog packs, they were at each other's throat. They hated each other with a passion. And then they encountered us, and we united them as one. When they chased us, they were on each other's side like brothers and sisters. That was us, man. We did that, he finished. I thought about explaining to him that we united them together in hatred against us, but he looked so happy lost in his moment that I figured I should let him be. Sometimes the simpler people are really the smarter people. I mean, he found a reason to be happy after that horrifying encounter, whereas I became paranoid and had to move to a different city entirely. A city not known for occasional sightings of upright walking canines. So I've been told Detroit is totally different now and that I should come back. I don't know if I ever will, though, because I'm still kind of traumatized about the time I got chased by warring dogman clans near Detroit. Here comes Sabrina Midkiff, throwing down law like a sheriff. Sabrina donated to us using our new handy-dandy thanks button, which is our newest way to become an executive producer. We can't thank Sabrina enough, because it seems YouTube is back to having a problem with scary channels, or at least some of us. It isn't really fair to expect you guys to keep us online, but that's the situation we're forced into. And here to describe how else you can help keep us on the internet is international TV spokesmongrel Henry Lee Dogman. Hank? Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos, or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button. Or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that when it cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.